Yo, what is going on, guys? Jaeky here. Today, I'm going to be going over how to play smokes at a fundamental level. So, you've probably seen the memes or like you've seen the Twitter post saying that if you're like above gold, you should be able to play basic smokes at a fundamental level. And I agree with that. If you're like at least gold, even if you don't main the controller role, you should be able to play Omen and Brim and throw smokes for your team at a fundamental level. And in this video, I'm going to be going over how to do that. So even if you don't main controller, you can still fill if you're forced to and still play smokes at a decent level. So yeah, with Omen and Brim, you should be able to pick these two agents up and be able to smoke decently for your team. With Astra and like Harbor, let's say, those agents are a little bit more fundamentally challenging, but for most maps, you can get away with playing either Brim or Omen. So today in this video, I'll show you guys how to use those two agents and how to smoke properly on them. So I'm not really going to be going over any other abilities. I'm only going to be focusing on the smokes here, starting with Omen. So with Omen, you press E to activate your smoke just like this. And this will basically be the default form of your smoke, where you enter sort of like this Omen smoke world and you follow your little orb around, right? It's like this. And then you can see with the bar, there is a max distance that I can send my smoke. So once I reach this max distance, I can't go any further than this. So even though I can see the entire map, that doesn't mean that I can smoke across the map. You do have to be in range. Omen smokes do reach pretty far, as you can see here. So it's left click to go forward with your smoke and go further, and it's right click to bring your smoke back. So you hold down right click or you hold down left click to change the distance, and then obviously you move your mouse around to position it. In this form, you can also change elevation just by swiping your mouse up and down, left and right, and it's important to note that you can move your agent in this form. So if you hold WASD, I am able to move well in this form during smokes, unlike Astra, where Astra is stuck in her astral form. So if you press R, you actually change to this mode right here. And this mode is honestly not as good as the first mode in my opinion. This mode is good for throwing one-ways, but we're not really going to talk about how to like get into super complicated one-ways or anything in this video. I would highly recommend, if you guys are learning to smoke on Omen, that you master smoking in this form, because this form is very versatile and most Omen players will 99% of the time be in this first form right here. Okay, and to smoke on Omen, so let's say I go into my smoke form here and I want to smoke B main. So I would just go into my smoke form and then I would line up the smoke to where it's smoking off B main. You can see I can pretty much get a full visualization of where my smoke is going to land. After you have the smoke lined up, to smoke it, you just press E.
Shadows traveling.
And as you can see, that will throw your smoke out just like that. So press E to enter your smoke form. If you want to cancel, you press one of your number keys, and that will bring out your gun if you decide that you don't want to smoke. If you do want to smoke, you just press E again once you have it lined up.
Shadows traveling.
And it will throw your smoke out just like that. Okay, and also with Omen smokes, you can see this little green arrow. So this little green arrow is how you can tell which surface it's landing on at which elevation. So for example, like I've seen people miss this heaven smoke sometimes, where it will actually sink down to hell, which I don't know how they mess it up, but you can see the green arrow right here in the middle of my screen is how you can tell which surface your smoke is actually going to land on. So if it's right here, you can see that this means that my smoke is going to land hell because this little green arrow is on the hell floor. But if I move it up a little bit, as soon as this green arrow bounces up, that means that my smoke is going to now land heaven. So you can tell where your smoke is going to land based on this little green arrow. Okay, now let's talk about Brimstone. Brimstone is even more simple than Omen because he has an iPad. So basically, it's his signature ability, just like Omen, his smokes. You just press E, and it will pull out this iPad where you can pretty much see the map and the range at which you can smoke. So just like Omen, there's going to be a range on your smokes, but with Brim, the range is a little bit smaller than Omen. So you can see here, everything that I can see on my iPad here, on my map, is the range that I can smoke. So I can smoke A main from here, or I can smoke B main. So let's say I wanted to throw a smoke down. You can see around my cursor, I have this circle. That's basically the perimeter of my smoke. And in the middle, I have the dot, which is the center of my smoke. So let's say I wanted to smoke B main. I would just click on the map where I want to smoke, and then right click to send the smoke down. So if I want to close my iPad, let's say I don't want to smoke this at all, I would just press E again, or press one of my number keys to pull out my gun. And you can see I close out of my iPad. If I want to actually smoke something, I would just click and right click.
Smoke's down.
And as you can see, that will send the smoke down. So that's basically how you smoke on Brim. Keep in mind, Brim only has 3 smokes, but they last the longest in the game. So Brim smokes will last the longest out of all of the controller agents, but he only has a limited amount of smokes to 3. Okay, so let's talk about how to smoke an angle properly. So let's say you're defending here and they are rushing onto the A site, and you want to smoke A main for your team to help your team defend the site and to delay the push. So when you're smoking, you want to imagine as if you're finishing off this section of the wall. So let me actually pull up paint here because I feel like it'd be easier to explain in paint. Let's say this is A main, right? So we have a wall here, and then we have another wall here. So this is A main, this is A site here, and the attackers are coming in through A main. You want to imagine as if you're completing off a wall. So let's say my smoke is in red. So you want to keep it flush with the wall. That is the difference between a good smoke and a bad smoke. So if you're smoking for your team, you want to make it flush with the wall. Bad smoke is where you would have it like out too much. And so this gives the attackers opportunities to lurk out the sides of the smoke. So for example, let me show you in game. So this is an example of a good smoke. You can see that I'm lining up
Cover going out.
the edge of the smoke with the edge of the wall. And so this is almost as if the smoke is part of the wall, right? So this would be a good smoke. A bad smoke is where you have
Cover going out.
you have it like this, and so the attackers are able to lurk out the sides of the smoke and isolate fights. That's the reason why these smokes are bad if you smoke too far out, is because these attackers can lurk out the sides and isolate fights. That also brings up this heavily debated heaven smoke on Ascent. So same concept here. You want to make it flush with this wall. You want to imagine that this wall, or you want to imagine that your smoke is a continuation of this wall. And so when you're smoking and you're attacking, right, when you're attacking, you want to smoke it so that it's lined up with the edge of the walls. Another problem that a lot of new smoke players have if they're filling is they don't look at their mini maps. So with Omen smokes, especially with Brim smokes, it's easy because you have an iPad and the map is just your iPad. But with Omen, instead of looking at my screen, I want to be actually looking at my mini map when I'm smoking. When I'm smoking on Omen, like 80% of the time, I will be looking at my mini map. So I'll use my screen obviously for the initial lineup. So I'll like use my screen to find the elevation, but once I have that, I'm using my mini map to actually line up the rest. So you can see here, if we look at our mini map, we can actually tell where this wall is. It's around right here. And so it's very easy for us to look at our mini map and use that to line up the edge of our smoke. So you can see here, it's right now lined up perfectly with the edge.
Cover going out.
And I can throw this smoke confidently and have it land perfectly flush against the wall. So this is the smoke that you want to be doing when you're attacking Ascent A site. And the reason for this is because this doesn't allow them to get any sort of angle on your team. If they swing out, you're basically able to see them, and it's an easy kill if they're peeking through the smoke. The bad smoke that players throw is they will actually throw it out like this.
Cover going out.
And so this smoke is bad because it's too far out, and what this smoke allows the defenders to do is they can actually sneak out the side here, and again, they can isolate these fights without risk of getting traded from your gen player. You know, your gen player can't really see anything with this smoke, and so they're able to sneak out the back and isolate fights onto dice. And so that's one of the most important things to keep in mind when you're filling as a smoker, is to keep your smokes flush against the wall. So if you're smoking, again, smoking B main, instead of smoking out like this, you want to smoke deeper in so that, again, it's lined up perfectly with the wall. Just like that. You can see here, it's pretty much lined up perfectly, so there's no opportunity for the attackers to sort of get any sort of pocket that they can work with. And with Omen especially, if you're not comfortable with smoking, obviously your first time is going to be a little bit slow, but it's okay to take that extra little bit of time to make sure that your smoke lines up. Obviously, the more experienced you are with it, the faster you'll be at throwing smokes, but if you're still new, make sure you take that extra little bit of time just to make sure that your smoke is lined up good, just so you don't have any gaps. It's better to throw a good smoke but take a little bit longer than to throw a bad smoke really fast. So keep that in mind. Just take that little extra bit of time if you're still learning how to throw smokes fast on Omen. But like I said, I'd highly recommend that you guys learn this form just because it's a lot more useful than this form. Because this form, you have to judge elevation, and it's just harder to sort of get it down perfectly. Whereas with this form, it's very easy to get your smokes down perfectly because you're able to see that elevation in real time. And then going over the same thing on Brim. Like I said, on Brim, it's a lot easier because you actually have just your mini map here on your iPad. So you can see when if I'm smoking B main for my team, again, you can see I'm keeping it flush with this wall right here.
Launching smoke.
Just like that. And that's how it should look. Instead of smoking it like right here in the middle, this is what a bad smoke would look like.
Smoke.
So this smoke is bad. You want to keep it, again, flush with the wall. And same thing on A heaven. If you're smoking A heaven as a Brim, it's even easier on Brim because you have an iPad. So you just, again, smoke it like this to where it's deeper and it's flush against this wall.
Smoke's down.
Just like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Those are pretty much the fundamentals of smoking on Omen and Brim. If you guys enjoyed this video and it helps you out, make sure you do leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.